Buff Nation, what is going on? We're here after a victory, after shearing the sheep, whatever the expression is. I'm joined here by Russ for the Buff Splits. We're going to break down CSU, all the great things to take from that game, as well as preview our first conference matchup, homecoming. But Russ, how are you doing tonight, man? Personally, I think I need to go to the doctor because I'm still erect from that win against CSU. Absolutely phenomenal. How are you doing tonight, man?
Oh man, I'm doing so good after that win. Like I said last week, we needed not only just a win, we needed to blow them out, and we did just that. So, as far as I'm concerned, we're back, baby. Fans are back in. Subscriber counts back up after a down week for Nebraska. Everybody's back in. So, it's always exciting. It's a good week. It's always a fun, enjoyable week when you get to ride a Buffs win throughout the your normal work week on to homecoming Saturday this weekend.
Yeah, and it was great, having a program on the schedule that was just clearly all about playing for clicks. And it was great to show them what playing with substance kind of looks like, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it was a dominating performance. I know we're going to break it all down, but yeah, anybody who's watching, please go subscribe to Buffs News Weekly. Hit that like, join the conversation in the comments. Shout out here, Kevin Riley sending $2 your way, a cup of coffee to you, Russ. He's saying we're back 1-11, baby. Go Buffs. That's how we should be feeling. No doubt about it. Russ, let's break down this Colorado State game, man.
Yeah.
What were your feelings going into it? And just take me through the journey throughout the game.
We called it. Like, I was yelling at the screen. You know the meme with Leonardo DiCaprio where he's like, look, like you and I discussed, we need the pistol. Yes. We need to run out of the pistol more if we want to be successful. You talked about it in your breakdown so far this week. It was beautiful to see, and it was amazing to see how well the team picked up from there. Absolutely loved seeing Micah Welsh, that first, when he carried the ball that first time and went for a good, 20 yards, 25 yards in that first kind of carry, I was like, okay, we're in it. We've got it. This is going to show them that, hey, running the ball is working, and it's what we need to do. And then on the other side, we have a defense. Like, we have a defense.
Yes.
I was honestly, as bad as it sounds, because last year, I was looking forward every time that the offense got the ball. I was like, yes, it's going to be so exciting. It's going to be awesome. The defense gets the ball. I'm like, okay, hold my breath. Yeah. It's the opposite now. I am excited when the other team gets the ball because I'm like, this defense is fun to watch. And let's just say that we have found the linebacker duo that is definitely probably up there, I think, in college football. I've heard other people say that. I'm not saying they're like the best, no. But maybe top 15, top 20, duos as far as Hill Green and Bentley. They're just balling out. And that was so much fun to watch. Dave, what about you? What made you still erect to this day?
Wow. Yes. Well, man, it's not the score. It's not the score. Of course, it's great blowing them out. And anytime you're winning by like 3 scores, that's what I'm gonna say, man. It's no doubt a blowout. But the fashion in which we did it, we played with some nasty. We played with some attitude. It was great to see the offensive line gain some confidence. You absolutely loved it. Khalil Benson. Fantastic game. He was playing nasty. He was back to being don't touch to. That was awesome to see. We saw Phillip Houston get into the lineup, perform very, very well. Had some penalties, and I'm not going to freak out about that. I didn't exactly agree with all those calls, but Phillip Houston, especially in the run game, looking at the film, watching the replay, it's very clear how he was the highest rated run blocker on the offensive line for us this past week. And the linebackers. I've loved watching Nikai Hill Green Levante Bentley, and then Trevor Woods. This is kind of a role that I like that he's in, where he can kind of spell, be in there in some specific, pass packages or pass heavy situations where, maybe you could take Bentley off the field, something like that. I think we got our linebackers in a good place right now. And the fact that we were able to put this performance on when CSU averaging, 150 yards rushing, they absolutely gashed us last year. That running back they have with Marshall, I think, is a really talented back. We caught a break with him kind of missing maybe a couple quarters, but we didn't have Chidoze. We had some injuries as well on our defensive line, and it was great to see other guys, step up. But it was a great team win. I love the fashion in which how we won. And when you can control the ball, we can control the pace of play like that, I'm less worried about how many points we put up. How effective were we on all of our drives? We were so much more effective. And I think that's what gave me so much joy after that win. What do you say, Russ? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say is, I kind of commented this, I tweeted it, I talked to some other people. It was very interesting the beginning of that game because I almost think that Shedeur was seeing ghosts a bit. He wasn't ready for the offensive line to give him that much time. He was drifting in the pocket a little bit. I talked about it on Sunday. It seemed like he wasn't prepared for how good they were going to be for him. And then as the game settled in, he started to pick it up, realized, oh, I can stick in the pocket. I can hang in there. I can find my guys. And that's what kind of took off. So hopefully we don't see, kind of that slow start from him, because I definitely think he was the slowest start out of anybody on the team, which we've never really said in the prime Shedeur era. So, I was excited to see that. I was excited to see the run game kind of help us a little bit. That I'm really, really looking forward to whenever Dallin Hayden gets back, because I think some of those plays, if you give them to him, I think he breaks it, if not for longer yards, potential touchdowns. Even the one to Micah at the beginning of the game, that first really long one, I felt he didn't do much to make that one tackler miss, kind of the last guy that got him. If he does a little bit more there, which again, I don't think that's his game, I think Dallin Hayden would have probably tried to put some kind of move on him, and who knows, maybe he goes off for a bigger gain there. So I think he's more of a breakout kind of home run player. Micah, I love him as that bowling ball type player that's just like athletic. He's what we wanted Charlie Offerdahl to be. Charlie Offerdahl is never going to be to that extent. Like, that high energy, toughness, high intensity cut type guy. Micah really, portrayed that, and I love seeing that for the game. So yeah, agreed on the offensive line, man. One thing that I really loved, and I saw a couple of analysts kind of breaking this down with Philip Houston, because his grades weren't great, but what he allowed us to do, I saw on a number of plays, because of his size and how fast he is, he was able to pull off the line a lot quicker for some of the screen plays and different things that we like to run. So I think that is a great opportunity for him. And then because of just how well everybody else played, Khalil Benson was allowed to then double team and help Houston in a number of situations, like, for instance, the Travis play that, if you guys haven't watched it, Dave broke it down. I've tweeted it out. Everybody's talking about it. More so not the catch by Travis or the throw, but Khalil Benson absolutely kills a man. Soul left on the ground. That guy's probably not playing football again. Whatever that looks like, it is not good for that guy, because he got absolutely demolished. Just, one-on-one blocking, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, Khalil Benson's in his face, just knocking him to the turf. So absolutely love it. It's the perfect win. I'm glad we got that win, because again, I know we're not playing Nebraska for a long while, and we're not playing CSU for a little bit. At least they're on the schedule. But now we've got a couple-year break. So it would not have been fun going into that break having lost to that team, or even had a close game, because I can only imagine what those fans up in Fort Collins would have said had it been close. So at least we have that. We've got the bragging rights for quite a while. And what I really love this year too, just to kind of finish my thoughts, I loved seeing the boys celebrate with the trophy. I don't remember them doing that last year. Like
I can't remember it either. Maybe because the game lasted till like 2 a.m.
Maybe, yeah. But it was awesome seeing Shador and Jimmy Horn and all of those guys parading around the stadium with the trophy. You know, it kind of made you feel, you know, that traditional CU Buffs Rocky Mountain Showdown vibe because, you know, 9 times out of 10, we have that trophy in our hands. So it's just what we're used to.
Yes. It was a beautiful thing, man. It really was. I love how you pointed out. Yeah, I don't think Saturday was Shador's best game like that he's played throughout his career here at CU, but it was one of our most dominant wins. It's either number 1 or number 2 during his time here, either this game or last year against Nebraska. And I don't find that to be a coincidence that when you play complementary football, you don't need Shador to be Superman on every single play. You don't need that. And we allowed him to get into a flow. He finally found his flow. You pointed it out, how he was climbing the pocket so confidently as the game went on. You're right. He wasn't used to it. Now he's got some confidence. Now he's got some good memories to fall back on when it comes to trusting this offensive line. We're up against a tougher opponent this week in Baylor.
Yeah.
But what did we say about this game that going into CSU was that it was a must-win for us. We needed to get right. CSU was the perfect opponent in this situation to be a get-right game where we can find our mojo again, find what it means to play fundamental complementary football. We ran for over 100 yards. Our running backs averaged over 6 yards a carry, which was a beautiful thing. And it was the fashion in which we won. I think that was it just made me so happy, man. I'm just so happy. And now we can build upon it. But, you know, I would be rude, Russ, to not talk about what's happening right now with our team, with the performances that Travis Hunter is stringing together, really making a strong Heisman case right now. What were your thoughts on his game against CSU?
I said this. You remember we previewed the team in the spring. I said everybody needs to enjoy every second of this season because what we're about to see from 12, it is going to be a Reggie Bush, any of those Heisman candidates that just ran away with things because there was nobody even close to them because they just did such unbelievable things. And again, if you're a non-quarterback, in order to do that, you've got to ball out like that. And we're seeing that so far. I'm sorry, those stat lines that put him at the top of every. It should be every Heisman list because I don't care who you are when you're dominating on both sides of the ball. Like that is insane. And hearing so many ex-players, hearing guys like Charles Woodson and Champ Bailey and all these guys that have played both ways. One, not only still doubt Travis in the fact that he will never do it at the next level, which I don't agree with, but two, just saying how they are so shocked at how good he is on both sides of the ball that we have never seen this before to this extent, ever. Mm-hmm. So everybody needs to realize that we are seeing absolute greatness unfold in front of our eyes. We will probably never see it again. I mean, I'm just saying it. This is like a once in a generation. I mean, I will say that Colorado sports fans are really lucky right now because we're going through a lot of generational talent. We need to enjoy the ride that's happening in the state of Colorado right now because we remember the bad times. we're in better times. Who knows if these will last that long, but being in the moment, we've got to enjoy that. Travis cemented himself as the top Heisman candidate. I don't care what anybody says. Also, I really love Dave. I don't know if you saw this on Twitter. A lot of people, of course, bringing it up when the Heisman talk about Travis brought up. They were like, oh, yeah. Well, what about his game against Nebraska? He did nothing. I'm like, you call 110 yards nothing? Like, that tells you everything you need to know when you say 110 yards is not good enough. Not to mention he allowed 15 yards receiving on him. Yeah. He dominated the other side of the ball. He just didn't get a lot of opportunities because they don't go his way. But when he did what he had to do. Like, that's what I'm saying is even a bad day for Travis Hunter is a good day for 90% of the receivers in the country. So you can't tell me that he is not the number one. And here's the last caveat for it. If we get to 8 wins, he wins the Heisman. That's the key.
Oh, yeah.
We got to get to 8 wins.
I'll even say, I even think at 6 wins he could win it, but I think it's not a given thing. I think, yeah, if we get to 8 wins, oh my God, dude, you got to give it to him. I think he's definitely been our most consistent player. Thank you for pointing out his production against Nebraska because it was still fantastic. He still brought it. He was ready for that moment. And I'm just pumped that we get to see him now in conference play. Now the real season is really starting. Any other thoughts on CSU? Maybe we could talk a little bit on the pistol, and then we can get to Baylor. Well, what were your thoughts on that? I know you texted me something earlier today.
Yeah, no, I was texting you because today on Matt McChesney's podcast, Deion Sanders Jr. came on and said and revealed that pistol package was not a part of the game plan. They did not go into that game planning to run that. It was a mid-game kind of like decision to kind of turn to that. And so what they decided to do was we're just going to run our shotgun packages out of the pistol. And that was more in the sense, actually, I should say it wasn't not part of the game plan. It was for running the ball.
Yes,
but
correct.
It really was, okay, we've got to pass out of this too. We can't be one dimensional where if you're in the pistol, we know you're running, we're going to load the box. What does that look like? No, let's run our other passing plays out of it, which is a super easy fix. Like that's not that big of a change. It's super smart. I heard somebody give Shedeur the credit. I would honestly say more probably Pat Shurmur. I would give the credit in that case, especially for a mid-game adjustment like that to say, hey, we're going to just run the passing plays out of this. It's not a big deal. I would assume that he had a big part in that. But who knows if we'll ever truly know if it was Shedeur saying, hey, let's just run everything out of the pistol. I'm comfortable with that. Or if it was Pat Shurmur saying, hey, we need to run it out of the pistol because we need to not be that one-dimensional, easy kind of play when it comes to running the ball. Whatever it was super smart. And Dave, I know you've been banging the drum for this since probably North Dakota State of we need to change up what we're doing to get the run game going. I'm sure you were excited and screaming at your TV when you started seeing more and more of that.
Man. It was so justifying, man. I'll take one more victory lap, but it was wonderful. Seeing those, 5-6 plays or whatever that we had against Nebraska, there's people coming in saying, well, that doesn't matter at all. It was at the end of the game. It was in the second half. It's like, man, I guess none of the yards matter. I guess, nothing, depending on your opponent, I guess those wins don't count either. It was so justifying to see them come out. I think it was the second drive that came out pistol. And yeah, Michael Welch starts getting going. You see Isaiah Gustive have some huge holes to run through. Philip Houston, I hope he makes me eat crow every week. I thought he was great, especially in his debut. And, hearing that story, it's wonderful. Regardless of whose idea it was first or whatever, to have Shedeur and Pat Shurmur on the same page, agreeing to go in that direction, that's fantastic. You love to see it. The one thing I will be like, is how do you go into that game without passing plays as part of that package? What the hell? But at the end of the day, they made the right adjustment in enough time. We made the right adjustment, and you got to think that now coming into this game against Baylor, you can start to build off of that. I mean, we saw, I think there was like 1 or 2 play action plays out of that pistol set, which it kind of looked a little awkward. Now, hey, if you're getting more reps with this during the week, you're practicing more out of that formation, all of a sudden, all of those things start to look a little bit better. Everybody's on the same page. Those plays are going to be more effective moving forward. I hope that pistol kind of becomes our base right now, and we can kind of build off of that. So one of the few days in which it feels like they did everything I told them to do, right? But, last week it was a big win for the professional YouTube coaches. It was definitely justifying. And now I'm excited to see kind of what they do against a formidable opponent in Baylor. Do we want to move on to previewing this matchup?
I want to ask one last question because it's the thing every, podcast in America is talking about. What were your thoughts of the end of the game and us trying to put that nail in the coffin and shove it down their throat?
Man, I thought it was hilarious, man. I thought it was hilarious. Yeah, like the game is over. You're up by 3 scores. If you want to be petty, if you want to be running up the score, doing things a little dirty, I understand it. I understand. Did you not think that this was going to happen with primetime football when you got a big lead?
He did it at Jackson. He did it at Jackson State. He won several games by like 50 plus points. Yeah. So don't tell me that he doesn't do this. And also what I want to really shout out is I was screaming at my TV because that announcer is an idiot. Whoever that was should never announce another football game again because he has no knowledge of anything. To compare what happened at the end of that game to what happened at the end of North Dakota State and showing the whole Shador heave that almost lost us the game. Like, it's not, you're comparing apples to oranges and then being petty about it. Like, there was a completely different thing. And on top of that, as an announcer, you aren't able to call back and say why it's happening. I mean, you're the analyst here. The color commentator is the play-by-play is not going to make this mention, but you as a person that obviously has some football background should know that if another team is going to talk so much trash for months at a time for this game, you can't tell me that your whole team isn't like, we want to shove that ball down their throat until the final whistle because they don't deserve a close game. They don't deserve mercy at the end. And I don't care if they're like, oh, they're going to get hurt, they're going to get injured, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, so what? Just go for it. I loved it. I was cheering it on. I was happy for it. I was not in the way. And I've heard a majority of football people have said like they got it and they weren't upset with it. Yeah. It's non-football people. It's, haters of Colorado and Prime that want to bring it up and say something. So I loved it. I hope we do that again if, we ever get in that situation. But only if the other team deserves it. You disrespect us, we're going to disrespect you back in the way that we play. I love that about Prime. He said that numerous times in all the pregame videos, the halftime, we are better than them. We are above them. We are not going to take cheap shots, even though they tried a number of times, including the worst non-targeting call I have ever seen in my life. Literally watching football all Saturday, and I'm watching these targets, and the announcer's just like, this is getting stupid. Like, this call is way too weak. It doesn't make sense. All of these people getting kicked out of different games for different targeting plays. And then this is the one play that I heard everybody saying, like, that was 100% targeting. That was the reason you implemented the rule. He literally, after the whistle, lowered his helmet, went helmet to helmet with Shador. It was literally the same play that Kamara got kicked out of the game last year in the CSU game. Like, that's what happened to him at the end. So for them to let that go, like, that was stupid, but I'm glad they did it. I'm glad they did it to CSU, and now CSU gets to stew in that. And Braden Nicolosi, you get to now say that you never beat CU in your career because you're not going to get another chance.
I love it, man. I love it. It's great beating a program that was clearly all about clicks and no substance. And now we get to play. I think some opponents that do have some substance that I think like, and I'll say this, Russ. I know that there's been some, and actually I got to say two things. One, credit to On3 for actually giving context with Prime trying to run up the score against CSU. I feel like they're the only outlet that has done that. Strangely enough, On3, you get a star for that one. But you got some work to do. You got some work to do in order to fully get into my good graces. Now, I've seen some clips of some different Baylor content creators or reporters, podcasters, not really giving us any respect, which no, I can understand. But what I will say is, as we break down this matchup, I just want people to be consistent, okay? I'm not negating our two victories against opponents from lower levels of football. They're in the same position, man. They lost to their one Power 4 opponent. They beat an FCS team, and they beat Air Force. A G5 team. So very similar. They have taken care of business against the inferior opponents that they should beat. And so I think it's going to be a really good game, but I think we're going to have to get some conference victories before some of these content creators or reporters, fans of other schools start to respect us coming into the Big 12. And I think it starts this week.
Yeah, every time I saw one of those comments, I'm like, you can tell, because especially when they say certain things, they're basing it off of film from last year. They're watching it based off of who we were last year and not who we are this year. I called out one guy on Twitter because, he was saying that the defense is probably the most suspect part of our team, and that they've barely improved over last year. And I was like, you haven't been watching, because that's the one bright spot in every single game. As far as who's been the best part of our team. So to say that our defense is our weak part, I think that does not give credit to what they've put together this season. Yes. On top of that, if we want to compare opponents, I get that we have the same level, but North Dakota State is not the same level as Tarleton State.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And Air Force, while I respect Air Force most years, Air Force is a good game, a good team. This year they are probably one of the worst Air Force teams that they have been in a long time. And a lot of Air Force people know that. They do not have the athletes that they've had in the past. They don't have the size that they've had in the past. Because it's tough. It's tough to play an option team. And I watched that Air Force game with Baylor. It was 3-3 going into the third quarter. So the blowout kind of came when, Baylor finally got things going offensively. And then once you get a lead on an option team, the game's kind of over, because once you have to force them to try and pass it's impossible. It's not happening. So they like to keep games close. They like to, just grind games out, and Air Force passed the ball. I have an interesting stat for you, Dave. You probably saw this. So RK from DNVR had this to say, and Zion, you sum this up very perfectly. Okay, listen to this stat, everybody. If you haven't seen the tweet, it is wonderful. Okay, the Baylor Bears currently lead the country in yards allowed per game, passing yards per game, at 75 yards per game that they are allowing. Okay. Mm-hmm. However, there needs to be a big asterisk next to that, because in 3 games, they have only faced 46 pass attempts. Now, the fun stat that RK brought up that I absolutely love is Colorado threw for 49 times this past weekend alone.
Oh, that's funny, man.
So we threw for the entire season's worth of passing that they have faced, because all 3 of their opponents have been run-heavy teams. Even Cam Rising only had, I believe, 12 attempts from what I saw. And of course, he left the game injured.
Yeah.
But, they have not faced a passing team like us. So we have no idea, and they have no idea, and their fans have no idea what they're going to be able to do against the pass. So all of these podcasters saying oh, we're going to shut them down and we're going to put up, 30, 40 points. I've heard that a bunch. I've heard that they're easily putting up high 20, high 30 points against us this weekend. And that's the one comment I'm like, okay, I will give any team the respect that they deserve, but there is nothing that tells me that is who they are. They are not a pass-happy team either. When you are a run-heavy team, you will probably average in the 20s, and you will want your team to have really good defense. And so overall, just all the talk and what they're saying, I don't think they're respecting us. I respect who they are. I'm not going to say we're going to blow them out. I think it's going to be a close, tight game. I think it's going to, be back and forth. The key is, if we can get out to a 14-point lead, the game's probably over. And then vice versa, I think the key is going to be, how do they stop the passing game, and can they at least maintain the running game if they force us to run compared to last weekend? So, Dave, what about you? What about, Dave, when's the last time Baylor played at Folsom Field? You want to know? This is an interesting one. Dave, do you know? Do you remember?
No.
2010, they killed us, because guess who was at quarterback? Who's the best quarterback in Baylor history at this point?
Oh, man. RG3.
That's right. RG3. Wow. That was his coming out season. So they look just fine coming into Folsom, but that's RG3, baby. That is one of those, like I said, legends of college football that will never be repeated. So What about you, Dave? What have you seen? What have you heard when it comes to this game, and your thoughts kind of just on the surface?
Oh man, I'm very excited for this. It's our first opportunity to come in and make a statement in this conference. And yeah, I've seen some things them saying where you might have the worst defense, in the Big 12, but all this sorts of stuff. Uh, I think we're gonna earn some respect this week. It's been interesting. Daquan Finn came in, transfer as that starting quarterback, a little bit more dynamic of an athlete.
Yep.
We'll see if he gets the start, but I almost would say you ride with Sawyer Robertson again.
Yep.
With how he played it in the second half against Air Force. To me, he looks like a pretty good quarterback. He's got the ideal kind of size that you would like. I think he's around 6'4", 6'5". And again, not a ton to go off of, but his completion percentage has been close to 20 points higher than Daquan Finn. Hasn't turned the ball over, whereas Daquan Finn has. And they both played against Utah. So, yeah, it's interesting. He's somebody who's mobile as well. So while he might not be a running quarterback or someone who can run all the time, he is somebody that can scramble and get some yards that way. So that's he's not a pure pocket statue back there. He could provide some difficulty there. If he's able to, like we saw against North Dakota State, if we're going to play man, there might be some opportunities for him to scramble for some big yardage. They also have some interesting athletes outside at the wide receiver position. Ashton Hawkins, number 6, speedy guy. Josh Cameron, their number 1 wide receiver. He's somebody that I assume Travis Hunter and DJ McKinney are going to spend a lot of time against. I'm excited to see that matchup. I think they're going to win that matchup. The real key is this game. Their third top target on the team is a tight end in Michael Trigg. This is somebody in which Nakai Hill-Green, Trevor Woods, Cameron Silman-Craig, Carter Stoutmeyer, all those guys collectively, they're going to have good coverage on Michael Trigg in order to take him out of the game. Traditionally, we have been torn up by tight ends, right? We have been absolutely torn up by tight ends. That's definitely kind of a matchup or a weapon that I have my eye on. It's going to be fun to see if this team and how this team defends their run. Right now, they're averaging, let me just look it up here to make sure I get it right. They're averaging 167 yards a game. This is going to be a team that runs the ball effectively. And if we can get out to a lead, obviously our offense helps our defense in that way. But I think it's traditional stuff, Russ, that we've talked about. We want to stop their run. We want to put the ball in the hands of their quarterback. But let's execute that game plan that we were hoping to execute against Nebraska, where it's like, hey, if Dylan Raiola is going to, just dice us up, I can live with that.
Yeah.
What I can't live with is just being gashed in the run game, man. So that's kind of how I feel about this Baylor game. Let's put the ball in the hands of this quarterback, see what he can do. But I think that this is going to be a nice test. A level up, obviously, from CSU. I'm thankful we're not going up against one of the juggernauts in the Big 12 yet. This is a nice step up, nice welcoming into Big 12 play. But I'm excited to see kind of how we deal in their matchups against kind of their offensive weapons. They're going to come out running the ball. Hopefully we get Chidoze back to help out with that. What say you?
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I mean, if I'm Baylor, I know that they're gonna key in on the run game. They're gonna make me pass. I think, like you said, if I'm them, I'm gonna try and target the tight end early and often to see how we do with it. Yeah. And if it's working, keep going back to that, because that's a pretty easy play for a quarterback, no matter who's back there. I agree with you. I think it's going to be Robertson in the end, between Finn being injured and the play that Robertson did in that game against Air Force. I liked what I saw compared to the two. Watching them play, they're complete opposite styles. Finn is a run first type quarterback, full athlete. He did not throw the ball well against Tarleton State. He did not throw the ball well against Utah. He doesn't have an accurate. He doesn't have a powerful ball to make those tough throws. And so, if I'm Baylor anyway, I would start because of the matchup. Robertson, he throws a much better ball, much more accurate. You called it, very much more the prototypical quarterback. I think the block, I agree with Kevin here. I think they're going to give him another week because I think we're going to really need him against UCF next week. Between the potential monsoon weather that could be happening in Florida and the run first team that is UCF, I think that he's going to be much more needed next week than he is this week. I think we can survive on the defensive line without him against Baylor. And, it is interesting. I mean, they are a run first team. I mean, they averaging 180 yards passing per game. That's so low for the college game. But then, you look at rushing 169. So between the two, I mean, that's a pretty heavy stat as far as how much yards they're getting per game. So because of that, and they're averaging 21 points a game in 3 games. So to say that they're going to put up 30 on us, 30 plus, that's kind of disrespectful from some of their fans, especially when you look at that. But yeah, I'm interested to see how we play with that. What I will say, Dave, that I loved about this past week, going back to CSU, and tell me if you noticed this, we didn't get a lot of sacks. I get that. We did get pressure, which caused Nicolosi to have to roll out. And when they rolled out, every single time I saw there was somebody that was spying or smart enough to be in the right spot to kind of hang out, where he would run it, but he got maybe 2-3 yards each time he ran it. And it got to the point where he had to throw. And what happens? He throws 2 picks rolling out of the pocket. So I think that's going to be CU's game going forward. We'll eventually hit a pocket passer that'll maybe stay in there long enough for us to get a sack. But right now, all the quarterbacks are being flushed out, and that's what you kind of want, as long as there's support there to not give them that easy run down the field like we did against North Dakota State when Cam Miller had that easy time just running the ball once he broke the pocket. So were you able to kind of understand that or see that in the CSU game I did?
That's a great point, man. Nicolosi was not a factor with his legs at all. I'm really happy that you pointed that out, because you need a disciplined defense in order to contain him. And you're right, when he was on the run, making bad plays, desperate throws, and it ended up with the ball in our hands. With that interception. Did he throw 2? Threw 2?
Yeah.
Threw 1 to Travis Hunter.
Hodge. Preston Hodge got the first turnover of the year and out of the end zone. He should have taken that one back.
Yeah, he should have. That we need a Travis Hunter pick 6 here as well. But going back to offensively, this is going to be their first test, like you pointed out, against a true lethal passing attack. And I think what I loved so much about the pistol is that we were still running 10 personnel. And so it leads to those light boxes, but we were able to take advantage of those light boxes so much better running out of that formation. And it's going to be interesting to see how Baylor handles having to cover 4 dudes that could absolutely take it to the house anytime they get a catch. This is, it's going to be great to see how we build off of this and how they adjust to see, are they going to just put some of their guys in closer to like one-on-one coverage in order to help defend the run if we're coming out the gate running the ball really effectively? That's going to be interesting to see. But I think the main thing that I'm looking forward to right at the beginning is I imagine we're going to get some similar boxes, light boxes, because they're not going to respect our run. Can we make them respect our run in the first half? That's what I'm going to be looking forward to seeing. And I think we can get it done.
Highlight motivated dedicated, because him saying the Baylor linebackers are elite too, and we're not scoring on this team. Real quick, I'm looking at the top 10 defensive performers in college football this past weekend, and I don't see any Baylor players. You know who I do see? I see Levanta Bentley, linebacker for Colorado, with an 86.1 defensive performance. So you want to talk about elite linebackers? He's grading out up there at the top of college football each and every week. Like, I have not been noticing many Baylor's players showing up each and every week in those top things. And, for you to say that the linebackers are elite, you're kind of missing the fact that we have some really good linebackers as well on our side of the ball.
Yeah. We'll find out this week. We'll find out this week how good they are, man.
We're going off of last year. Is that the point? Okay. I guess we live in the past. Sure. Great. We want to go back. We can go back.
Yeah, where Baylor finished last year. I mean, weren't they around our record or so? Yeah, I can't. I don't remember, man. But I think that right now, what's the line? Like -2, something like that.
Yeah, we're favorited by 2.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think us being at home obviously is going to favor us. It's going to help us out. I think that, again, people who say Baylor trash, I don't believe that.
No.
They've beaten teams they should have beat in convincing fashion. The one thing, just like we have in some respect, although NDSU was a little bit closer, but we're a vulnerable team. We saw that against Nebraska, as they are as well. Cam Rising in that offense was taking it to him until he went out.
Yep.
I think that they do have a vulnerable defense, although the stats, I find it interesting. They are number 1 right now in the Big 12 when it comes to total defense. But as you pointed out, Russ, this is going to be the first time in which they face an offense that, has the amount of explosive playmakers that our offense has. And again, it's not rocket science. Can they force us into passing the ball every down? And can we force them to put the ball in the hands of their quarterback? I think that's what it really comes down to.
I mean, in order to beat us, your linebackers don't matter. 1, okay? You're going to have to do the Nebraska model, which was you need to beat us with a 4 or 5-man rush, okay? Blitzing does not work, okay? Disguising coverages does not work against Shedeur Sanders, okay? Ask every team that's ever played against him. That only works for so long. If you want to do something new, he will figure it out and get going at some point in the game. Look at last year in the second half, okay? Defensively, as far as what I saw, what we can do, when watching that Air Force game and watching how well Baylor ran it on Air Force, Air Force's linebackers were some of the worst I have ever seen. Watching the plays that they did, those linebackers bit on every move and left those running backs with gaping holes that were easy to go. They were way too patient. They were way too hesitant. That is not who our linebackers are at MO. So I don't think they're going to get the same kind of gash plays that they did against the Air Force. So I do think it's going to be close. And I think that, we're going to be just fine. We are going to be just fine. I think it will be a close game, but again, I know who I'm going to be going for.
Wonderful. Well,
linebackers don't matter. Okay. We'll see.
Should we get into our predictions? Or is that too early? You want to get into it?
I think we can get into them. I mean, I'm getting more hyped up now. I want to definitely go out of this.
Well, I come up with these predictions totally on the fly, but I have been thinking about this a little bit today. What's the score going to be? All this, yada. CU, they did something that we haven't really been able to do since Coach Prime's been here, and that was cover in a game in which we're favored to win. Like, we had only done that one other time. We got it done last week. I'm going to roll with that again, man. I think we get a victory. I think we cover more than the 2 points or whatever it is you said it was. I think we get this victory. I'm going to say they got an offense that's averaging 29 points a game. I think we hold them to 20. I think we score 27. So I'm going to go with 27-20. CU gets a 7-point victory at home. This is what I'm talking about. Second year rebuild. You start winning those games that you were losing by single digits. Now you start winning them by single-digit scores. That's my prediction for this week.
Yeah. And just so you know, the dude literally said linebackers don't matter. The point was that they're not going to be the difference maker when it comes to the passing game. Okay. The passing game. Running game, yeah, sure, they'll make a difference. But when we are a pass heavy offense, that can only go so far. Ask some of the teams that we played last year with how that went. So my overall prediction, I'm similar to you, Dave. I was thinking very close. I do think, though, that we get an extra score either via a turnover from Baylor, having to push the play at the end of the game to try and get back into it, or we get like a late running score, something like that to kind of just break it open a little bit more. So I think it's going to be close throughout. I think at the end we kind of pull away a little bit. I'm going to go 34-21.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go that extra touchdown off of yours, just because I think it is going to be within a score, and I think that's going to cause something on Baylor's end to happen that'll then eventually lead to a Colorado score to kind of end the game. And I do think that they'll shoot for that. So that's where I'm at. I've seen a number of different predictions in the chat. We have it all over the place. I don't think it'll be a full blowout. When it comes to that. So that's where I'm at.
I love it. Who do you got for, you want to do like a prediction for like an offensive and defensive player of the game?
I'm going to go for offense. I mean, he could easily go Travis every time. That's just boring.
He still needs to be the best player in the game. I think
Travis will be the best player in the game. That's just a given. Okay. Whether or not you can match up and get enough out of your team to match whatever Travis is about to do, that's another story and going to be going forward. I think offensively, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go with Michael Welsh. I'm going to say we're going to have, he's going to have the play of, not the play of the game, but he will be the player of the game. I think the freshman goes for 100 yards. I think he gets the first 100-yard rusher in the prime era. And I think that'll be impactful. And then defensively, I'm going to go with, I know what it's going to be. This time I'm going to go with Hill Green. I'm going to go with Nakai Hill Green. I think it's either him or Bentley. Bentley had I think the better game of the two against CSU. So I'm going to go with Nakai Hill Green this time. He's going to bring the lumber like he did last week. That guy was nailing those holes and nailing those running backs. He's the one that knocked Marshall out of the game on a clean hit that was just really, really good and hard because, they get to those holes extremely fast. And so that's where I'm at. I think that's where so Michael Welsh over 100 yards, 1 touchdown. I'm going to give him his first touchdown. And then Nakai Hill Green, I think that he leads the team in tackles for the game. What about you?
I love it. Well, I was going to go with Nakai Hill Green, so I'll take my number 2, man. I'll take Levante Bentley. I think in order to get this win, our linebackers are going to have to play very, very well. And good news, they've been playing very well this season. Credit to Robert Livingston. What a hire. I think we'll continue to build on our strong defensive performances over the last couple games and really make a statement as we enter conference play. So I'm going to go with him. I'll go with Levante Bentley on defense. And on offense, I think that this past game was really important for this player. I think we saw him settle in. Still a little bit to be desired on special teams. I think we'll see that. I think we'll see him settle in more so this week. But I think we're going to see a wonderful game from Lejante Wester. I think, again, we saw him settle in against CSU. And I want to see him build on that performance. I think Baylor, from everything, from the little I've seen and looked at, I think they got a pretty good special teams unit. But if we're able to convincingly kind of win that or help flip field position a couple times because of what he's able to do, and then, hey, even score because they're paying so much attention to Travis, that would be great. But last game, we saw Lejante Wester be that other game-breaking option opposite of Travis Hunter that we've been hoping to see, and I would love to see him continue to build on that. So I'll go with that. I know that there's some talk here in the chat about the rain, but I believe the rain is still, it's only a small percentage of probability, right? Like it's like a 30%. I think they said this afternoon. Maybe that changes as the game approaches, but yeah.
Plus, we know it's Colorado. I mean, for those of you in the chat that do not know Colorado, the state, very well, you can't ever, one, predict the weather. Two, when it rains in Colorado, it like rains for a little bit and then like goes away. Like very rarely do we get like a downpour that would affect the football game.
3 hours.
Yeah, no, it's not going to do that. Like maybe it lasts the first half, but then the second half we can come out and throw, or vice versa. I don't think that's going to be as big of a deal this week. Again, looking way off in the distance, it could be a lot bigger of a problem in Florida than in Colorado. But on top of that, I wanted to say something. Have you watched all of the all 22 for this past weekend for LeJohntay and what he did?
I watched the game through once, but I was looking at some other things. I was mainly paying attention to the run game and the pass protection. So, but I loved what I saw at LeJohntay. What are you going to say on that?
Well, looking at what he did, even when he didn't get the ball, the dude was open on every single play. Beautiful. Shedeur was, LeJohntay was either further in the route tree or was just, keyed in on Travis, because why wouldn't you be? But LeJohntay was open all game long. Nobody could cover him. They couldn't stay on him. He was way too athletic. So, I would see that. Last chance I saw 30% as well. I literally saw 30% like a couple hours ago. But pull it up. Let's fact check. A live fact check right now.
Yeah, we'll settle it. So let's see. Boulder, we got 91% chance at night. Periods of rain, potential heavy rain.
It has jumped up.
It's 90%. It's higher than So should be fun, man. Should be fun.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm not too worried about it. I'm not the local news reporter that was like, Prime needs a prep for a rain game. I don't think you do. Like every professional football player commented and said that you don't do that. Like there's no prepping for it. You have what you can do if it happens. You can make gameplay adjustments when it happens. But to plan your whole game plan around that type of weather like that, that's going to be really, really difficult to do. And could come back to bite you, because what if it's not wet? What if it ends up being pretty dry and you're like, okay, we're just going to run the ball and that's it, and not really have a passing, game planned out. So, that's what I'm interested to see. I think though, I think it's going to be a good game. I'm excited. It's homecoming. It's at home. It's a sold out game. It's whiteout this weekend?
I believe so.
So what is your predictions on the uniform combo this weekend, Dave? We should start doing this because this is kind of a fun thing to see. We've seen the black with white. We've seen the dreaded white gold. And then we've seen the all white stormtrooper, which I absolutely love. What do you think comes out this weekend?
I like black and gold, man. I like in the primetime games when we got the gold. Maybe we see a metallic gold, on that helmet.
I want to see it so bad.
Look really cool, but especially with the night games. When's this kickoff again? Is it at 6?
6 o'clock Mountain.
Yeah, so it'll be night at some point. I've always thought that that kind of combination always looks real good at night. So, that's what I'm thinking. What do you think's going to happen?
I have a feeling we're going to go all blackout. The stadium will be all white. We're going to go all blackout. So we're going to do the Nebraska uniform with the newer design patterns on the pants and the jersey. So I think we're going all black. Like you said, I would love to see if they, I swear if we do not see a chrome gold helmet at some point this season, I am going to lose it on Prime and everybody who said that these uniforms were fire. Like, I love the little add-on. Okay. But we haven't seen that much difference from, our normal uniforms that we had. The only thing we've seen is the accented mountains, the foothills on there, and the flat irons, I should say.
Yeah.
And so, that's what I'm thinking. But I could see traditional, for this weekend. I could see the gold, the gold, black and gold. Yeah.
Yeah. Gold, black, gold. Yeah. I do love the flat irons design on the sleeve. I love that. I hope that sticks around for quite a while. I just think that it's a beautiful touch. So, we'll have to see. But I think regardless, I think we're in for a nice show from the uniforms. JK20 is asking this. We'll see you have a running touchdown. Man, I sure hope so. If we're going to be playing in some rain, hopefully we're getting a rushing touchdown. But who do you think should get the majority of the carries in this game too, Russ? I'm curious.
Well, we got some little bit of breaking news. The depth chart just got posted for Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Dallin Hayden is listed at the very bottom, so he will not be playing, is my understanding, because he is in italics versus everybody else is in regular. So that's my guess. Let me see if we can see anything on no Chidoze. No Chidoze. He is also in italics at the end. So no Chidoze, no Dallin Hayden. Trying to see if there's any others that might pop up. Isaiah Harge looks like he is also in italics, so he's not playing again. I do not see anybody else. So it looks like the rest of the team is going to be healthy. So no issues, no lingering issues going on there. It's just the same people, Chidoze, Dallin, and Isaiah Harge. So we will see Micah Welch and Isaiah Gustave. By the way, Isaiah Gustave listed as running back 1. Micah listed as running back 2. Charlie 3, Brandon Hood 4.
Interesting. I say you go with the hot hand. I think Michael was the better running back, but hopefully we see plenty of them. JK20 also tagged me in this on Twitter.
Yeah.
I want to answer this for him. My son and I's favorite player going back to last year's USC games, Omari Miller. Do you have any insights to why he's not on the field? I would just say probably the talent is pretty similar compared to the guy starting, and you're just going to go with your veteran players. I think it's really that simple.
I agree. I've had conversations with people about, a lot of people are saying, he's gone after the season. There's no way he sticks around. If you guys go watch Well Off, by the way, for Saturday's game, at the end of it, and Will Shepherd are having a ball at the end of the game, making fun of CSU fans and just like totally giving it to the crowd. He doesn't look pissed off. He doesn't look mad. He looks like he's enjoying himself.
He reactivated his Instagram.
Exactly. I think he understood and understands his role. And let's be honest, Dave, who is our number 1 receiver next year?
It's got to be
it's Omarion Miller. Everybody's leaving. Our 4 starters are all gone next year. Yes. So Omarion Miller, he knows that it's going to be his time next year, and this will be his team. If he's patient and smart, I think he'll stick it out. I think it is going to be dependent on what the quarterback situation is, and whether or not we get one. If we get a freshman, if we get a transfer quarterback, I would, if I were everybody out there, be paying attention to the G5. Any quarterbacks that you see that are lighting it up, which there's a number of them, are prime candidates to be brought in as transfer QBs. Yeah. So I would be looking for that. I think that Prime could pull something like that and get a pretty darn good portal QB. And let's be honest, the portal QB market is the hottest part of the transfer portal and the most important part of it. We have a number of Heisman Trophy winners that were transfer players. A very large list going back to even before the portal days when it was just regular transfers. So absolutely, I think, that's what's going to happen. But I think Omarion Miller is fine. I think he might get in as the season goes on, but you guys got to realize the 4 wide receivers that we have that are in front of him are probably starters, if not number 1 or number 2 wide receivers on almost every team in the country. Yeah. Almost. So it's not a case of Omarion Miller is not deserving. It's just that where everybody is in the lineup, how they're doing, what they do, what their positioning is, that I think is just what's going on. Big LT, that's one of the quarterbacks I'm watching as well. Tulane's quarterback. I love what he does, and I think he'd be a great transition from Shador to him. Very similar type quarterbacks. I think he could definitely run this offense come next year if he wanted to get out of there.
Yeah, and it's a good problem to have, man. In terms of the wide receivers, it's great. If JK20, if you want to look for some silver linings or some positives, Omari Miller didn't have any targets in the first 2 games. He got 1 against CSU. He also had 10 snaps, which was a season high for him. So maybe we'll see him incorporated more as the season goes on. But I think things are trending in the right direction for him. We got 8 months to freak out about the transfer portal, talk all about that. Right now, I think in terms of winning games, we got 3 seniors and maybe the number 1 overall pick as a junior out there at wide receiver. He's not in the doghouse. It's just a stacked room. It's a great, but he knew it was going to be a stacked room.
Bingo. He could have left. We thought maybe he would have. He was one of the people I was like, oh, I could see him leave, especially after Dylan left.
Spring. Yeah.
Yep. And instead, what did he do? He stuck around because I think that he understands what his role is going to be. And that's why I said he's not transferring. I said he stuck around. He knew what he was getting himself into, and he knows that this is going to be his team going forward. So I for sure think it's fine. And, I think he's having fun, being able to watch these guys ball and compete in practice every day.
And I think he's going to have his opportunities this year. That's just how football goes. He's going to get his opportunities this year. I have no doubt about it. But Russ, any last items, man? Or shall we wrap this thing up?
No, motivated, dedicated. No matter how the outcome of the game, come find me on Sunday. I will be going live in the afternoon. Feel free to come in and rub it in if you guys win, but also don't be afraid to come in if your predictions are false. I'm happy to say when I'm wrong. We talked about it, Dave, in the Nebraska game. We were wrong. We were wrong on a couple things there, and it happened. But in all honesty, I said it this week. I had a tweet, go pretty not viral, but it went pretty out there that I talked about, what this past weekend's game meant, and it was that the Nebraska game was necessary. It sucked to lose to them in that fashion. I think that was a huge wake-up call to this team, to the coaching staff, to everybody. And we saw adjustments finally in the sense of what we really needed to do. And I think that game we're going to look back on that game as the turning point to not only this season, but to the prime era at CU. So I think that's what we're going to see. So, hey, Sunday afternoon, 2:00 Mountain, I will be live on my channel, breaking down the game, kind of go over into what happened, talking about any other news that may pop up. And so, yeah, hope to see people around.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Russ, thank you again. Putting this together. It's great to do this chat every Wednesday. I'll be live after the game. Hopefully, I'll be putting my Ralphie horns on in celebration as always. Until then, guys, be sure to check back in tomorrow. I got another film review. I got a little bit of Shador as well as some Travis. Maybe I'll split those up into 2 different videos. Got some previews coming up for this Baylor matchup. So please subscribe. We will see you guys all after the game at the latest. And as always, y'all, Sko Buffs.
Sko Buffs.